You know, during his first term in the White House, Donald Trump said we have to get rid of 2 regulations for every new regulation that comes in. Now he wants it to be 10 to 1. 10 to 1. Wouldn't that be marvelous? Knocking back the regulatory state, getting rid of regulation without representation. Susan Dudley is the founder and former director of the George Washington University Regulatory Studies Center. She served as administrator of the Office of Information and Regulatory Affairs from 2007 through 2009. She joins me now. Susan, thank you for being here.
Well, thanks for having me, Steve.
All right, we've talked about DOGE. We all know what that is, but we have to make it worthwhile for the next 2 years. It's only been around for 2 years, we're told, at least for the 2 guys that are in charge right now. And to be effective, man, if you got rid of, and Donald Trump said this yesterday during his press event in Mar-a-Lago, if you took out 10 regulations for every new one that went in, that would be transformative in America, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Well, where does it lead us? Well, how do you look at it?
Well, it's part of the question is how. How do you get there? Because it takes a long time to get rid of regulations. The old adage that it takes just as long to remove a regulation as it takes to put it in place in the first place. So following normal practices, that's more than the 2-year or year and a half window that Musk and Ramaswamy have given themselves, because they've given themselves until 4th of July 2026. So they're going to have to be creative in different ways to achieve that reduction.
So what kind of places would you see a need for regulations to go away? What are some of the, I mean, this is what you did. This is your specialty. If you were going to do surgical strikes and remove regulations, where would it be? Where would you start? Pharmaceuticals, business, taxes, where would you go?
I think you'd have to look across the board. So, regulations have definitely been growing by any measure. Regulations have been growing pretty steadily since the mid 80s. And to do that, you really would have to look across the board. But you're right about the surgical strikes. I don't think it's going to be possible to do a sweep of regulations without doing the homework, crossing your T's and dotting your I's, because anything you do can be litigated. Anything that the president can do with a simple executive order, the next president can put back in place with a simple executive order. So to make it durable, they're going to need to really consider how the courts will react and get help from Congress.
Well, right. It has to be a coordinated effort. And so then my question becomes, look, the government is so convoluted, for lack of a better term, and a clean word I can use in this program. How are Elon Musk and Vivek Ramaswamy going to oversee all of this? Because of course, he did it at Twitter, I suppose, did Elon, but there's so much chaos and so much noise and so many moving parts. I don't know how you get a handle on it, but maybe that's their area of expertise. Maybe AI plays a role here. I don't know, Susan, but something has to make sense of the senseless, right?
Yeah, AI, I think that they can use AI to identify regulations that are maybe outmoded or duplicative. So I think that is something they could do. But your point about Twitter in pharmaceuticals, operating in a private business is so different than operating in government. So in the government, you've got the Administrative Procedure Act of 1946 that guides how you write regulations and how you remove regulations. And that can be a cumbersome process. Now, it was designed to make sure that the public has an opportunity to see what you're doing and comment on it and weigh in, and for private parties who are aggrieved to litigate if they don't like it, which is all important, but does mean that it takes time. So
here's the thing. Here's the thing. Regulations were never supposed to be the way this government operated. Regulatory agencies are not part of the constitutional design of this government. It is unconstitutional in my way of thinking. And with all these agencies put out rules, which are really laws, you can call them what you want, but a law by any other name is still the same. They are laws because they can take your money, your property, your freedom. If you violate these rules, whether it's the EPA, the FCC, pick your agency, doesn't matter. They've got rules. If you violate them, they can put you in jail and take all your stuff, can't they?
Yeah, they are definitely laws. Yeah, agencies are issuing laws. Now they're doing that under delegations, but Congress has passed very broad delegations that give agencies authorities that, yeah, some people, Philip Hamburger in particular, just says it's unconstitutional. Administrative law is unconstitutional. Not everybody agrees with that, of course, but.
Well, I think it's unconstitutional because if there's a regulation, my member of Congress didn't vote on the EPA regulation like the waters of the USA. That's one that got a lot of blowback along the way, right? If I want to dig a pond, and I dig a pond where I'm not supposed to because there were 2 cattail plants there, and all of a sudden I'm in violation of a regulation, not a law, a regulation rule that was handed down, then I'm suddenly on the hook for $1,000 a day, every day, and so on and so forth. You've seen these egregious things. All right, so are you optimistic about all this, Susan? Can we get this reeled in under this new administration and start the process of fixing these problems?
Well, we've got 2 brilliant people, Musk and Ramaswamy, who are on a mission. I'm not sure how it's going to work. They call it a Department of Government Efficiency, but it's really not because they're going to be outside advisors. So I wrote an op-ed, I have an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal today that said, I really want them to succeed, but it sounds like a Seinfeld episode where the president will issue orders and yada, 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 smaller government. And the yada, yada, yada is the important part and how they will actually do that. Yeah. So my op-ed makes some recommendations for what they can do. But I think that's where the rubber hits the road, and that's what we're going to see. Can they bring that entrepreneurial brilliance that they have and actually influence the government that is a cumbersome process?
Well, I hope so. I hope so, Susan. Yeah. We got to leave it there for today. Susan Dudley, founder, former director of the George Washington University Regulatory Studies Center. We'll keep a close eye on it, Susan. Thank you for being here.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. I'll take a break and be back. It is The Steve Gruber Show.